Hello guys, my name is SHASWAT and I'm a legal intern at LEXIS and Company. Today I'll be talking about the difference between the two types of democratic governments, that is the parliamentary government and the second presidential government. So apart from the parliamentary and presidential systems, there can also be one hybrid system also, incorporating the features of both the systems. The chief difference between these systems is the extent of the power separation between legislative, the executive and the judiciary. Another major difference between the presidential and parliamentary system is the accountability of executive of the legislature. So, first let's talk about the presidential system of government. In this, the head of the government leads an executive that is distinct from the legislature. Here, head of the government and the head of the state are one and the same. Also, a key feature is that executive is not responsible for the legislature. The features of a presidential system are that the executive, that is the president, can veto acts by legislature. The president has fixed tenure and cannot be removed by a vote of non-confidence in the legislature. Generally, the president has the power to pardon or commute judicial sentences awarded to the criminals, and also the president is elected directly by the people of an electoral college. Now, let's talk about merits. So, what are the advantages of the system? Separation of powers, that is efficiency of administration is greatly enhanced since the three arms of the governments are independent of each other. Expert government, since the executive need not be legislator, the president can choose experts in various fields to head relevant departments or ministers. This will make sure that people who are capable are knowledgeable from the part of the government. Then thirdly, the stability. This is a very huge advantage. This type of government is very stable since the term of the president is fixed and not subject to majority support in the legislature. He need not worry about losing the government. There is no danger of sudden fall of the government. There is no political pressure on the president to make decisions. Then also one merit is that less influence of the party system. The political parties do not attempt to dislodge the government since the tenure is fixed, so they have nothing to do. Now, what are the demerits, that is disadvantages of the presidential system? There is less responsible president. Since the legislator has no hold over the executive and the president, the head of the government can turn the authoritarian. Deadlock between executive and legislator, since there is no strict separation of powers, there can be frequent tussles between both arms of the government, especially because of wastage dominated by the president political party and the wastage of time. One of the demerit is that there is a rigid government. Presidential systems are often accused of being rigid. It lacks flexibility. Now, let's talk about the parliamentary system of government. India chose a parliamentary form of government primarily because the constitution makers were greatly influenced by the system in England. Another reason the founding fathers saw was the parliamentary model would only work to accommodate the varied and diverse groups within our population. Also, strict separation of powers in the presidential system would cause conflicts between the two branches, the executive and legislature, which our newly independent country could not afford. The features of parliamentary system that country's forefathers saw were that close relationship between the legislature and executive. Because here the Prime Minister with the Council of Ministers form an executive and parliament in the legislature. The PM and the ministers are elected from the members of parliament, implying that the executive emerges out to be the legislature of the legislature. Then the executive is responsible to the legislator. The executive is responsible because there is a collective responsibility, that is each minister responsibility is the responsibility of whole council. Also dual executives, there are two executives, the real and the titular executive. The nominal executive is the head of the state and the real is the prime minister, who is the head of the government. That is, one is there as president, the main, and then the prime minister, who is the head of the government. Secrecy of procedure is also a very good feature. The prerequisite of the form of government is that a cabinet proceeding generally are very meant to be divulged to the public. They are very secret. They cannot be so far divulged. Now, what are the demerits of parliamentary system? There is no separation of powers. Firstly, since there is no separation of powers, the legislature cannot always hold the executive responsible. This is especially true if government has a good majority in the house. Also, because of anti-deflection rules, legislators cannot exercise their free will and vote as per their understanding and opinions. Then there are unqualified legislators, very big demerit. The system creates legislators whose intention is to enter the executive only. They are largely unqualified to legislate. Then there is instability, since the governments are sustained only as long as they can prove the majority in the house. There is instability if there is no single largest party after the election. They can lose their seat and the other party then becomes the ruling party, and they will have no leverage over any of them, and they will lose their power of making decisions. So both parliamentary and presidential systems have their advantages and disadvantages. It just matters what and which country's forefathers thought of taking this as their government. So that's it for today. Thank you, and please like and share and subscribe.